Once your styles are complete, styles are actually mapped to the annotations through the object defaults area. We will be changing the default style for linear, radial, diameter, and angle dimensions to the new dimension style that we just created. We will expand, so go ahead, let's expand this object defaults and select, we only have one object default style right here, so we'll go ahead and select that. And then we will select the dimension objects filter so that all we see are dimension objects. This will control and automatically map all different styles to and object types to a style and also a layer upon creation. For this instance, let's just go to the dimension objects area. For the angle dimension, let's set the style to the test drive dimensions. And then we will continue this with the diameter dimensions, the hole note, our linear dimensions also, and our radial dimensions. So now when those object types are created, they will be managed by that object style, which is the test drive dimensions, and automatically place them on a dimension layer. Our baseline dimensions and ordinate dimensioning will be governed by the default millimeter ANSI dimension style, and our origin indicator will stay with the general ANSI object style. So let's go ahead and save this, and then click Done. We are done managing our styles at the moment. Let's go ahead and place a view inside our drawing file. For this instance, we will be placing an exploded view or a presentation view as our base view. So let's select Base, and let's go ahead and click the Open button and browse to our file that we are going to be inserting. Let's look for the Link Adjust for Drawings IPN file, which is a presentation file or exploded view of an assembly, and click Open. Once you've done that, I can move my dialog box over, and you can see that the view is attached to your crosshair. I'm going to control the scale of the view right now, so I'll switch it to 2:1 from the scale list, and as you can see, the scale of the view is much bigger. Let's select the ISO top right, and then let's click in the sheet to place the view. So let me move the dialog box over here, and I'll just click on the sheet right here. So there's our view. When you bring your arrowhead over the view, a dotted line will appear around it, which means if you bring your arrowhead towards that dotted line, you can move the view or reposition it inside your drawing file. Now that we have our presentation base view on here, let's go ahead and place a parts list. So under the Annotate tab, we'll select the parts list, and then we're going to select the assembly or the view for which the parts list will read its information from. For the level, let's select all levels, and then we'll click OK, and then we can place our parts list up towards the top right of our border. Let's go ahead and zoom into our parts list, and then let's edit it. So we'll right click on the parts list and select Edit Parts List. With this parts list dialog, we can add and remove columns that link to model property values. We can expand or contract the subassemblies to display a hierarchical of the parts list. We can also sort the parts list by column. We can add user-defined custom rows for assembly components such as fluids or paint. Modify the layout of columns in the parts list, and also format the actual column values. In the parts list dialog box, we will be clicking the column chooser tool. So the column chooser tool is right here, and we're going to add different columns to this parts list. So let's go ahead and select the vendor and add that to our parts list, and let's click OK. As you can see, the vendor is now added into our columns. And there it is displayed right here. Let's go ahead and edit our parts list again. And let's do some additional formatting. So the part number column, let's right click this and select column width. And let's change the width to 45 millimeters. Let's also change the width of the description column to 60. And change the width of the vendor column to 45. The item column header, let's right click and let's select format column. And change the justification of this to left heading justification. Actually, let's do that for the value and switch the heading back to center justification. So you want your value justification to align to the left. And click OK. You can also select the plus signs to show the hierarchy of the sub-assemblies. And let's click OK. Now our parts list is updated with all the changes that we have made. Now we can also add rows to the columns or to the actual parts list to account for non-modeled components such as paint or grease or oil. Anything that would be not modeled, not have a physical part file or assembly file, but is required inside of your parts list for manufacturing. So let's right click the row header on the parts list here and select Edit Parts List. And then we will right click here and select Insert Custom Part. This will add a row, and you can see it's not a physical part because it doesn't have the assembly or part icon next to it. So for under this, under quantity, let's enter in 0.1 milliliters. And then enter under the part number cell let's enter in anti-seize. And that's going to be the part number. And then enter in for the description cell and then we'll click OK. And then the custom part is now added to our parts list. Okay, now let's zoom back out. And to complete this assembly drawing file, let's add some balloons which will correspond to the item numbers in the parts list. Autodesk Inventor